I visited Helsinki, Finland to watch Manchester United's first pre-season game of the 2026-27 season against Wrexham. First impressions, the stadium was very nice. It was kind of ruined because it's got a running track around it, so it's not the best place to watch football. However, Helsinki city is lovely. It's a bit on the expensive side. Who cares? This isn't a travel channel. You care about Manchester United, so let's get into the game. And the first thing I want to touch on is the amount of empty seats that were in the stadium. So I think the Olympic Stadium in Helsinki holds about 35,000-ish, maybe 40,000 people. But the Manchester United against Wrexham game only sold 25,000 tickets. Now, on the face of it, it's a pre-season friendly, who cares? But if you think about it a little bit deeper, is this actually cause for concern? Like, is it actually a sign of the times? Because I can't help but think, if this was in 2007, 2008, the likes of Rooney, Ronaldo, Giggs, Scholes, Ferdinand, Tevez, Berbatov, Evra, Van der Sar, they just came off winning the Champions League, they won the Premier League, they were in their prime, like Manchester United was like the top team in the world. Or if that was that version of Manchester United coming to or going to Helsinki, I'm sure the game would have sold out. And I'm just thinking, if this was Barcelona or Real Madrid going to Helsinki, it's a sellout. And yeah, like the prices of the tickets were quite bad. I don't know who was in charge of that, whether it was Manchester United and Wrexham, or whether it was just the Olympic Stadium in Finland who were, in charge of the prices. Is this a worrying sign of the times? Like, I think Manchester United fans have always had this safety net we've all fell back on. Like, Manchester United are always going to be a big club. Like, they're always going to have huge support. We're always going to be one of the biggest teams in the world. But this is now proof and a sign of the times that Manchester United can't just go to any city in the world and sell out a stadium. They can only sell 25,000 tickets. And, we now have a new generation of people who have never seen Manchester United win a league title, who have never seen Manchester United even really properly challenge for a league title. Definitely have never seen Manchester United do well in the Champions League. And I don't know, I can't help but be just a little bit worried and a little bit concerned that if Manchester United don't start winning things very soon in the next couple of years, they're going to start falling behind massively. They're already massively behind, in terms of big club, and it depends on what your definition of a big club is. But like I said, if this is Barcelona or Real Madrid, it's a sellout. And I don't want to hyperbole or be too dramatic, but it's a little bit concerning. It does concern me. If Manchester United don't sort their shit out soon and start winning things, it's going to get worse and worse. The fan base is going to lessen. Maybe I'm being over dramatic, and maybe it was just the ticket prices or whatever, but it is slightly concerning. I do think so. But anyway, let's get on to the game, and I want to first talk about the formation, the setup, and some of the tactics. So last season, of course, we saw Manchester United set up in the base formation 4-2-3-1, which would change into a sort of 4-2-4. You would often find an attacking line of 4 attackers, the right winger. The AMC would go alongside the striker, and there'd be the left winger supported by 2 central midfielders, and then sometimes you'd also get some overlaps by the fullbacks, but you could see basically a 4-2-4 forming, and then defensively it would switch into a 4-4-2, and nothing really changed. So from watching the game, watching it live, you obviously get a very good overview of the formation and the tactics, especially what's happening off the ball, because obviously on TV it's just focused straight on the ball. Not much has changed, if anything at all. We saw the same shapes, same formation, same style of play. So on that note, there is nothing to really report. Carrick hasn't revolutionised, or I guess you could say progressed, or made any changes to tactics. I want to say it's a little bit concerning. I think a big criticism for Carrick, and from me and from a lot of Manchester United fans, was we failed to see a lot of progression. We didn't see much progression from Carrick during last season. It was the same system, the same tactics, the same thing over and over again, and that's what we were all sort of hoping to see develop, but it looks like it's going to be more of the same going forward. Player-wise, I think the only surprises were Euro played at right back and Mason Mount played centre midfield. I don't think you can read too much into it. They were filling in for players that weren't there. Euro actually had a pretty good game at right back. He linked up quite well with Mbeumo. Mason Mount, maybe we can actually read a little bit more into it. At the moment, Manchester United are quite light in central midfield. Of course, the only senior or recognisable senior players that United have at the moment are Mainu, and of course the 2 new signings, Andrey Santos, who I'll get onto in a minute, Tielemans, and of course Ugarte, who is a long-term absence, and even if he wasn't a long-term absence, he's maybe not the greatest player. United are very thin in the central midfield front. So maybe Mount could be a player that's going to play there next season if United aren't able to sign like an actual starter. And I have to say, Mason Mount was one of the more impressive players on the day. He linked up very well. He was sort of the main man getting United moving, getting United playing forward. Played a lot of 1-2s, was trying to progress the play more than any other player on the pitch. Obviously, it's against Wrexham, so it's against limited opposition, although they won. Yeah, I think Mount had a good game at central midfield. So, maybe that's something that Carrick is working on. Maybe that's something that we might see more of in the future. Personally, I hope I just do sign another central midfielder because I don't see Mount as a long-term solution to that role. But maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world based on what I saw. The next thing I want to talk about tactically is one of the most alarming things that I think I said last season, but is even more noticeable when you watch Manchester United live, is that the off-the-ball movement is, I don't want to say it's terrible, it's just not happening. Like, there is no off-the-ball movement. The best that United will ever get is maybe an overlapping run from a fullback, but that doesn't happen consistently. It only happens, in certain moments of the game. Off the ball, it's very static. Like, Santos and Mount were getting on the ball and looking up, and, the players were just standing in their positions, and that's obviously something that Carrick has coached them, that they want to probe. But at the same time, I get the feeling Carrick doesn't want to play like a direct style of football, so there's a conflict in like interests there. I think the best off the ball movement was actually from Joshua Zirkzee, who on the ball was pretty bad, but his off the ball movement was good. Like, there were times when Zirkzee was dropping deep, taking a central defender with him, but then no one made the run in behind. Like, and Mbeumo just stood there on the right hand side, not making the run. When the centre back came out, there was space in behind to make the run, or Fletcher maybe could have made the run instead, but there was just no movement in behind. Like, that's the problem with United a lot of the time. It's very static. There's no runs off the ball. There's no option to play behind the defence because no one's making that run, and it's frustrating to watch, and it did make for a very boring game. And I just mentioned him there. I want to now go on to Andrey Santos, who obviously made his debut. I have seen a lot of people on social media saying that he looked excellent or fantastic, and I think one of the things that's been passed around on social media a lot is that he got 92% pass completion rate, and it's just like, well, yeah, he did, because he just passed the ball 5 meters to like the player right next to him. Like, that's the bare minimum you expect from a Premier League level player who costs 60 odd million or whatever the price tag was. It's not really that impressive. Like, watching him live, he just looked like any other player on the team. Like, he didn't stand out at all, and that's fine. United are weak in central midfield at the moment. They're light in central midfield, so they need players there that can do a role, and keeping the ball and keeping the game ticking over is a role, and Andrey Santos will be that player. But is he going to move the needle for United? Is he going to raise the ceiling? No, he is probably just raising the floor a little bit at the moment. There was not much progressive play. He got caught on the ball a few times. I think people were like saying he's very good at tackling. He missed some tackles as well. I wasn't overly impressed by him. I'm not unimpressed by him. I think he will be good for the team. Like I said, he raises the floor. Unfortunately, doesn't raise the ceiling. And I don't know, like, time will tell. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Andrey Santos showed everyone things that I didn't see, and maybe he will continue to show things that he wasn't able to show in this game for whatever reason. But I'm reserved at the moment. I don't think he's going to be the fantastic player that we need. Like, for example, is he a better player than Casemiro, the player that he's probably brought into the team to replace? No, like, I don't think he is. Like, I think Casemiro has a larger range of passing. I think he's better at breaking up the play. Casemiro as well was a genuine goal threat last season. I don't think Andrey Santos is going to bring United that. He's more mobile than Casemiro for sure. I can't help but draw a comparison to Fred. Hopefully I'm wrong. Let's wait and see. The jury for me is still out. I know a lot of people are raving about this performance. I didn't see it. Maybe I saw it from the wrong perspective. Maybe watching it live wasn't the best thing. Maybe actually watching it on TV would have been the better one. I've got no real actual motivation to rewatch the game, to be honest. But those are my thoughts on Andrey Santos after watching him for 45 minutes live. I don't think he is going to move the needle, so to say, for United. And then obviously at half-time, United changed to essentially the youth team, and this is where the game got incredibly boring, to be honest. I'm not being harsh at the youth team at all. They actually kept the ball fantastically well. I was at the game for my missus, and I actually said that it was like 5 minutes into the half, and I was like, I haven't even lost the ball yet. That's extremely mature, and it's actually impressive from a group of youngsters to come into a game. They've come to Helsinki on pre-season. There's an expectation from the fans, and they just come here and just pass the ball around, and looks pretty, impressive, actually. But I think that's where the impressiveness sort of ended. Yeah, yeah, it wasn't a fantastic display of football. I think when I saw Shea Lacey come on, I was like, yes, like we're actually going to get some entertainment. We're actually going to get someone here who wants to take players on and, you know, make a huge change in the game, like make that difference. But he got pretty much tackled every time he got the ball. It was a little bit disappointing. I sort of mentally checked out from the game, to be honest. Maybe you guys saw something that I didn't see, but you know, they're young and whatever. Like, it's a preseason friendly at the end of the day. Like, you can't put that much weight on it. The only other thing that I want to mention, and I think it comes down to, you know, Manchester United being a big club as well. Like, we do still have some big players. Like, there are some fan favourites. Like, Harry Maguire was a huge fan favourite in Finland for whatever reason. I think he's pretty much a fan favourite for every United fan, to be fair. The journey that he's been on as a Manchester United player has been extreme. Like, he's gone down to the lowest of lows, came back, now is like a very respected player in the squad, and like I said, a fan favourite. So I think a lot of people, you know, love him for that. And he's the type of player that fans in these countries that never really get to see Manchester United play live, that's who they come to see. And at the end of the game, obviously the second half the youth team played, but no one from the senior team, no one from the first half who played in the first half came and like clapped the fans at the end of the game, and like that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And it, like I said, it goes back to like Manchester United being a big club. Those are the sort of things that you need to show fans. Like, you need to show fans in these small countries who aren't really represented on the national stage as Manchester United fans. You need to show them that they matter. Carrick came round and went around the whole pitch, fair play to him, and like gave a round of applause to the fans that were left there. And I had to say Mason Mount was the only senior player, you know, the player who played in the first half, you know, the actual first team regular, who actually took the time to clap the fans at the end of the game and go around the stadium, you know, showing his respect and showing his thanks. And I think that's just like the least the players could have done for thousands of fans who came out to see them play, who probably never got to see them before, or, you know, very rarely get to see them. Like, how hard is it to do that, to show them that sort of respect and show them that they are thankful for them being there? Like, it wasn't obviously a great game and it wasn't a sellout, so maybe they're thinking, well, fuck them, but like, that's not the right attitude to have. And I just think like Carrick as a manager should have made them come round. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, this is such a small thing, like what does it matter? It does matter. Like, these fans matter. Those players not coming out to show any thanks, it's sort of like, you know, it's a lack of respect, and it's showing them that they don't matter. And I know it's like actually showing that Manchester United deserve to be like a small club. Like, they don't deserve to go to these countries and have all these fans turn out for them, because they don't respect it. And I just think Carrick as a leader and the other senior members like should have been like, okay guys, we just need to take this moment. It's going to take 2 minutes of our time to just go around and clap the fans who turn out to see us play, who paid way over the odds as well and to watch us, and we gave a really shit performance. So the least that we could do is like give them some thanks, but they didn't do it. And I think that left a stain in my mouth, and probably left a bad taste in many other fans' mouth. Like, what the hell? Like, do we not matter? Like, obviously I'm not from Finland, so like, you know, it's not like I'm personally like offended by it, and I don't think anyone should be like offended, but I think it's right to like call that out. Like, that was bullshit. Like, the players should have just come and, you know, said thank you. But anyway, final thoughts. It really did look like the game did not matter to Manchester United at all. It almost just felt like it was box ticking exercise. Like, oh, we've come to Helsinki for the first time in 50, 60 years. Tick that off the box. Don't ever have to come here ever again. Thank God for that. Move on to the next one. Result doesn't matter. Performance doesn't matter. And I'm sure like the Carrick and everyone was going to have things that they need to work on, and they can see things that they need to improve from the game for sure. But it just really looked like they didn't give a rat's ass. Like, that's just my honest opinion of it. And it's a shame. Like, at the end of the day, this is pre-season. This is where you stake your claim to be in the team. This is where you build your fitness. This is where you need to show the fans that you deserve to be in the team. And I don't think any of them really showed it. I don't think any of them really cared. I don't think any of them really care that they lost 1-0 against Wrexham, and they should. So it is disappointing. Hopefully we see a more motivated and bothered Manchester United team for the rest of the pre-season. Otherwise, if this is the motivational level that Carrick and co are able to get out of the team, it's going to be a long season. But we live in hope and we move on. Thank you for watching. I'm back on YouTube. I've been out of the game for a couple months. I got to 1,000 subscribers. I got lazy. I thought I made it. I thought I was famous. I thought I was the chosen one. I wasn't. I'm going to try to make better content for you all. I'm going to try to get back in the game properly. Don't know what else to say, but if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Give me a comment. What did you think of the game? How do you think the game went? Do you think I'm like a lot of my points that I made are sort of around Manchester United, a club as a whole, and not really on the game? But what do you think about what I said? Like, do you agree with my thoughts, or do you think I'm just talking bollocks? Let me know, and please consider subscribing to the channel, as it would really help me out. I'm back in the game, baby. Yeah. Cheers.